Everyone was beginning to see me as the boss. I don't know. God, that's because it's only one boss, and it is Diana Ross. Just because you singing some of the leads on the songs that Diana used to sing don't make you the boss, girl. I don't know. You tripping on that one, girl. Bugs, hello there, Bellas. If you have not already done so, please remember to like, share to Facebook, subscribe, and tip your favorite narrator via Cash App at $NAROB on YouTube. And if you are not already a part of this book club, please hit the Patreon link below and or the join button here on the YouTube. And for a small monthly fee of $5, you babies, yes, you can be privy to all the shenanigans before the YouTube gets it, if the YouTube gets it. Now let's continue reading Mary Wilson's Supreme Faith. The dogs are in daycare, y'all, so we don't have that snoring and grunting and tap dancing shit to be worried about. Okay. I knew all the reasons why I shouldn't love him, yet I couldn't stop. By month's end, Pedro and I were back in Hollywood planning our engagement party. Pedro loved the nightlife, and Hollywood certainly offered a surplus. Because of work, rehearsals, or simple exhaustion, there were times when I didn't go out. Pedro hung out and talked to other men the way guys do. For all its glamour, Hollywood is basically a small town. I knew everybody, and when my name came up, guys I knew, however, casually, usually said something to Pedro just to be polite. If a man said he thought I was nice or pretty, Pedro assumed I'd slept with him. What was actually said, I never knew. I only know what happened when Pedro got home. After one evening out, he stormed in with his brown eyes flashing, and I knew immediately someone had said something to set Pedro off. Still, there was no way I could be prepared for what happened next. "You effing whore," he screamed. "What?" I trembled as he stepped closer. He flapped his arms as if he were about to strike me, but changed his mind at the last millisecond. He was right up in my face. "You lied to me. How many men did you sleep with?" "But that was all before I met you," I cried. "I thought you were pure." "What? Pure?" I couldn't believe that in 1973, two adults were having this conversation. Suddenly, Pedro slapped me several times hard across the face, as if he hated it. He tore off my clothes and then shoved me outside to the pool area and locked all the doors. "In your house, girl? Where you paid a bill?" It was fall, hot in the day but very cold at night. I was crying so hard I could barely breathe. I looked out across the shimmering pool and down on the lights of Hollywood. How did this crazy man get into my life? Why couldn't I stop it? Maybe I could. As I sat on a cold lounge chair, hugging myself against the autumn breeze, I kept asking myself, why is this happening to me? It was very hard, but we made up again. A few weeks later, I went to the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion to see my good friends, the Pointer Sisters. Their act was fabulous, and their singing was great. I felt very happy for them, but left the show feeling sad and a touch envious. It was like the Supremes were old and out the way. The past couple of years had brought a modest girl group revival, with acts such as Barry White's Love Unlimited, The 3 Degrees, and The Emotions. There was competition. While I knew we couldn't copy anyone else's style, the Supremes needed something new and fresh. Unfortunately, we couldn't accomplish anything artistically until the most basic question, namely, who was still in the Supremes, was answered. All my career crisis faded into the background as Pedro and I prepared for our engagement party. We threw it at our house. Our house. Yo house. That's yo house. He ain't got no money to contribute to the household. How is that y'all house? I am so confused. We threw it at our house and over 200 people attended, including Flip Wilson. You dumb bitch. You should have married him. You should have married Geraldine, dummy. Lamont Dozier, Brian and Eddie Holland, Lola Falana, Jim Brown, Gail Fisher, Yvonne Fair, Robert and Fuller, Gordy, Barry's brothers, Bob Jones, Raymond St. Jacques, Ron Townsend, Sammy Strain of Little Anthony and the Imperials, now with the OJs, Johnny Taylor and his wife Richard Roundtree, and Kathy Lee Crosby, Herb and Mauna Loa Avery, Ruth Pointer, Chuck Jackson, Smokey and Claudette Robinson, Mike Roshkine, and Bill Loeb. Everything was beautiful. The tables were dressed in yellow, and there were large bouquets of daisies everywhere you looked. I cooked black beans, cornbread, ham hocks, and although I was tired by the day's end, I was very content. It was a great party, and before it ended, I made a date to meet with Smokey. During dinner a few days later, Smokey and I talked. I want to sing lead now, Smokey, I said. I know that I'm going to stick with the group, which is something I can never be sure of with anyone else. There has to be some consistency. It's getting to the point where people don't even know who we are. You're right, Mary, Smokey replied. It's time you took that step. Smokey discussed my idea with some Motown executives, but they didn't think I could carry the whole lead alone. They did, however, want me to assume part of the lead if we found a third girl who could carry the rest. That was pretty good news. I'll start recording an album with you, Smokey offered. And then, when you find your third girl, you'll share the leads. I was so elated. I called Charlie in Detroit to tell him what I'd done. Well, Mary, you know it's about time you started speaking up for yourself because nobody else will. Yeah, Charlie, I guess. I had to find that out the hard way. With just a few weeks before our next date, the pressure to replace Jean intensified. I had auditioned many singers, but I liked Shelley Clark the best. A beautiful girl with a great personality. She'd been in the group Honeycomb, which had a #1 record in 1971. One ads. But Shelley declined due to other personal commitments. Next, I called Sherry Payne in Detroit. When I told her who I was and why I called, she was very excited. I explained our predicament, and she seemed willing to help. When I asked if she'd like to come out to LA and audition, Sherry said she'd be honored to. A few days later, she was there, and I was sold. She was pretty, easy to get along with, and her voice was phenomenal. As far as I was concerned, she was in. Sherry and Frida Payne grew up in Detroit. We'd worked the circuit with Frida in 1970, the year of her first hit, Band of Gold, on Holland, Dozier, Holland, Invictus Records. Sherry was asked to join the label as well, and she took over the lead spot in Glass House, a group that recorded only a few records. My timing was perfect. As Sherry was considering taking a regular job, she had studied medical technology and taught school when I called. Her eagerness was refreshing, and she and Cindy hit it off. Like Jean and Linda, Sherry was opinionated and outspoken, but tactfully and with a sense of humor. I'd hired Cindy, assuming that Linda too was leaving. Neither she nor Jean had come to my engagement party, and I heard from Linda only through our manager, who kept me posted on her latest demands. She wanted a full one-third financial share of the group, which was unrealistic. I didn't see how it could be settled, and besides, I figured to replace her in a few months anyway because of the baby. Once we accepted Sherry, Cindy and I began rehearsing right away in my living room. Cindy, as always, was a great help. Because she'd put on a little weight, though, her gowns had to be altered. We had only a handful of days to get ready, so it was going to be tough. But I was so hopeful and confident that I broke my New Year's resolutions for 1974 in October. Number 1, conserve money. Number 2, check business. Number 3, learn to sing and act. Number 4, love Willie. On Halloween, Cindy, Sherry, and I played our first date together at the Phoenix State Fair. The fans were thrilled to see Cindy back, and they loved Sherry from the start. This was the first night I sang lead on most of the songs, and my performance was good, though I missed some notes on somewhere. Between shows, some local reporters came for interviews. All the questions were directed to me, and all evening the promoter spoke only to me as if Sherry and Cindy weren't there. I hated this and told Bill Loeb to make sure that people knew there were 3 Supremes, not just me. Everyone was beginning to see me as the boss. I don't know. God, that's fucked up. Because it's only one boss. And it is Diana Ross. Just because you singing some of the leads on the songs that Diana used to sing don't make you the boss, girl. I don't know. You tripping on that one. Everyone was beginning to see me as the boss. But in my heart, I still wanted to be just one of the girls. I don't know about that. 2 days, I don't know about that, Mary, but okay. 2 days later, we did a Cincinnati show where only a few people came specifically to see the Supremes, with most of the audience there for Bloodstone and Donny Hathaway. I was thrilled to share the bill with Donny. His rendition of Leon Russell's A Song for You inspired me to perform a medley of it. And how lucky can you get a couple of years later? Donnie complained that the crowd was cold, but they certainly responded to us. When Cindy addressed the audience, fans screamed, "We're glad you're back, Cindy." Tears came to my eyes, but that was about the only thing that went right.